Hi, welcome to Stories from My Drinking Days. My name is Harry Fell and I am the founder of Nolo Cocktails and Bars. We are joined today by Samantha Bye, who's an international mountain leader and outdoor wellness coach. Welcome, Samantha. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Harry. It's lovely to see you.
Excellent. Do you want to start off by telling us sort of like when you started drinking and how your relationship with alcohol started?
Yep. So I started my alcohol journey, I suppose. I was exposed when I was like 11 or 12. I was a French speaker and fluent in France. And I was always given the task of booking the summer holidays and the logistics. And I was invited by a French waiter at the time to have a glass of red wine with the meal. So I've always had a fairly good relationship with alcohol, and also like in France there's a big culture around wine. So that's where I had my first drink.
Excellent. And so were you living in France at the time, or was that on holiday?
No, holidays. Yeah.
And then how did your relationship with alcohol develop from there?
So from there, I've always respected alcohol. With my traveling and my adventures that I've done a lot of sailing, and in the sailing culture, there's obviously a lot of drinking and sea shanties and things. And I've always found it quite interesting, other people's relationships really with alcohol, especially around sailing and the dark and stormy cocktail, and people having rum, especially like from Caribbean. But I always found myself, like, I grew up in an area where we didn't really have many buses or like logistics to get into town. So in my early teens and 20s, when everyone's going out dancing, I would just choose to be the designated driver really, and I love dancing, so I would let other people drink, and people were always surprised that I was just life and soul and energized without the alcohol. So it was really insightful to see what people's stereotypes are when it comes to alcohol, and when you're out dancing or when you're doing things like that, around social settings, and that relationship and that interconnectedness really.
Yeah Brilliant. So at any point in your life, have you drunk sort of more heavily than that, or have you always managed to moderate your drinking?
I've always fairly been moderate. As I can only count 2 times when I've been really poorly with alcohol. One of those was a tall ship experience at Christmas time. And the other time was when I was living in Bath, to like what people are doing when they're like drinking in a social context, and not necessarily peer pressure, but that judgment alongside alcohol. And then as I've got older and grown up, and I changed my relationship with alcohol. I had quite a severe illness with encephalitis, which was water on the brain and spine, and I've made pretty much a full recovery, although I've officially still got a neurological function disorder in my medical history. I had 2 years with no alcohol, and that's where it completely shifted my like awareness of like the toxins, the endocrine disruptors. I also became a yoga therapist and like learned how to like understand what's really happening in the body, and like really immersed myself in like the health and wellness side of things, and especially where I do mountaineering and rock climbing, and like I do a lot of endurance performance training. Like you have to really be disciplined with like looking after your muscles, looking after your body, and making sure that you're fueling yourself correctly. And alcohol naturally is not going to help you with competitions or getting you through your personal best or getting you through certain scenarios when you're outdoors and competing in fitness competitions, things such as like that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that when you got ill, you gave up for 2 years. Was that sort of a conscious decision, or were you advised to give up alcohol when you became ill?
So I was advised to do that because of the neuro pathways rewiring, as the consultant explained it, and that it was instrumental part of like the health and well-being journey, that actually it's good to do that. And I did see the health benefits of that alongside other things that I did, such as the meditation and breath work and things. I could really see a difference. And then when I slowly introduced alcohol again, I have been very like I don't drink a lot of fizzy like Prosecco's anymore, like ones with high sulfate content or those with additives in, because I can really tell different, like my biochemistry in my body. My body straight away says, no, it's not happening, before I even continue to have a drink.
Yeah. So now you've gone back to drinking slightly. What drinks are you finding are best, or that you're reacting to least?
So I tend to stay away from high sulfite level drinks, and I tend to stay away from like cheaper alcohol, like wines. So I will really go and do my research and ask like sommeliers, and like I've immersed myself in those kind of like advisory places to see where like high polyphenols are, because again, with my understanding of high polyphenols, that's really good health benefits, because you can get high polyphenols in whole foods and plants and vegetables, but also from the making of wine. So if I have a little bit of wine, I tend to go for ones that have got high polyphenol levels, and then I stick to a gin and tonic, because and I'll just have one or two, and that's me, really, because I find anything else really affects my skin, it affects my brain. I can have brain fog. I feel tired for like 3 or 4 days. And I know when I speak to other people, they really notice a difference as well, from that.
Yeah, I have to say that when I was drinking, I could definitely tell the difference if I drank cheap wine versus a better quality. And I know some people say it's because you probably savor the better quality and you don't drink quite as much. But I have to say that actually for me, I think it was down to the additives that they put in the cheap wine. And yeah.
It's definitely down to processing. Yeah. And that's one thing I found, like in terms of like the correlation between that, it's the processing techniques, and you can apply that whether it's in alcohol or food, and you just have to see the more processed and the additives that are put into things are actually the ones that are the endocrine disruptors, those that are affecting the body and changing the biochemistry, and then leading on to health conditions, or feeling like really and lethargic and feeling the aftermath of those drinks.
Yeah. So I have to say I don't know a huge amount about these things. Other alcohol, then, is there stuff to avoid? Is there stuff that you definitely don't go anywhere near, beer, cider, or is it just actually how the alcohol is processed?
So from my understanding awareness, so from the coaching and nutrition that I do within my wellness business, like I've always found that beer, I used to drink beer and cider when I was younger, but the gluten and the wheat, and again the intolerance, it just doesn't sit right and get bloating and things. And for people that are trying to improve their health, like you're better off having something like a gin or a vodka or a lovely no-low cocktail by yourself. I love your cocktails when you kindly gave me a box to share with people, and like, or as I said, like try and go for, if you're going for a wine, go for a high polyphenol wine, and go and speak to like a wine sommelier, or go down to Majestics or somewhere like locally to you that has got that knowledge and expertise, because they will be able to share that with you. And like I do find it makes a big difference when it comes to your health and well-being, where if you are someone that sticks to like your spirits and a fizzy drink, for example, like you're going to have lots of added sugars. So not only are you having the effects of the alcohol, the sugars are going to affect your blood sugar levels, your cholesterol levels, your blood pressure, and everything else that comes as aftermath of that. Yeah, and that's my knowledge as far as it goes with regards to alcohol.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. So obviously you've been on a massive health and wellness journey since your illness. And then did that prompt you then to set up your business?
Yes, yeah. So lots of people definitely feel that I'm embodied by my brand, and it's all about like nature connectedness, and really seeing that whole person like healing process. So looking at your emotional and mental health, but mostly like everyone has good and bad mental health at different points, and it's how you nurture that mindset to overcome when you're excuse me, going through a period of bad mental health, that you're like, okay, how can I make interventions and how can I improve that? And then you bring in the physiological side, so the exercise, the movement. And I absolutely love sharing everything that I do, because it's great to see people's transformations, and also like people come to me, like I don't really have to do much marketing. People come to me, they know that what I'm about, I live and breathe by. And what's really lovely to see recently is that there's more emphasis around like the blue zone solution and the 9 pillars of living. And I'm not sure whether you're aware of that, Harry, but I've lived by that.
No, tell us more.
Okay, so I'm really passionate about this from a traveler's point of view, because I've been fortunate to go to 100 countries. So there's a fab guy called Dan Buttner, who's like a sociologist, researcher, who has spent a long time doing a lot of research around people that are that live the longest and are the healthiest and stress-free, basically. And there's 5 blue zone solutions across the globe, and I've been to 2 of the 5. So there's Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa in Japan, Loma Linda in California, Ikaria in Greece, and Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. And so all of that research has been overlapped with everything, and there's been so much evidence aligned with community, purpose, food, lifestyle, and it teaches us all about healthy aging. And the fundamental thing is like that community and being together. But what Buttner's team have identified is the healthy principles called the power of 9. And these are making movement a natural part of your day, which I do as part of like what I share. Knowing your sense of purpose, and like really waking up every day and like, right, what is it? Is my purpose to be a mum? Is my purpose to help one person today? Is my purpose to bring a smile to someone's day? It can be anything, but you know what your sense of purpose is. Number 3 is prioritizing stress relief. So figuring out like triggers, what are the warning signs, and like where are you with what does that look like? How does it show up in your body? And again, it comes back to that intuition and understanding of like, what does it feel like in the body? What is my environment showing with that? The 4th pillar is eating until you're about 80% full, and like living by that 80-20 20 plan, which is eating a largely plant-based nutrition plan diet. And then the 6th one actually is drinking alcohol moderation. So they have a concept called wine at 5. And that's where there's a lot of evidence around that high polyphenols. And out of those 5 blue zone solutions, especially in Japan and in Sardinia, those 2 communities have higher levels of like they consume quite a lot of alcohol. So that's quite interesting too, like for someone that's wanting something to read and look at further into this. And the 7th one is about connecting with your community, and I'm all about community because you have to have that human connection virtually or in person, because we are tribal people, like we're cyclical beings, we need to be part of that community. And then family, is number 8, and like whether it's biological or chosen family, whatever you look for. Like I'm blessed to have 9 godchildren, but I don't have children of myself. And then obviously the ripe old saying of like you choose your family and friends and things like that. And then the 9th one is choosing social circles that support healthy behaviors. So like being aware of like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Again, just thinking about, are those people serving me? Are they adding value to my life? Actually, have their values slightly changed? And I think for the people that listen into your podcast and watch your channel, like I think that's a very clear thing that people find really difficult to adjust to when you might have previously been a big drinker and been out in those social circles, and then straight away you've made that decision and that choice not to drink as much or completely go alcohol free, and then your social group changes, and then you're like, I've lost that infrastructure of friendship and connection. So I think it's a really great research model, the 9 pillars of Blue Zone Solution, and Netflix. I don't have a television, but Netflix apparently have got a documentary about it at the moment, and you can also go and get Dan Buttner's book and read about it. And he also has a fab cookbook as well. I don't have any affiliations with him, but it's definitely worth the read. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm like, I haven't thought of this. Like everyone says, this is what you live by, Sam, and I just didn't know about it. So yeah,
well,
it's really cool.
And what I know of you, it sounds like you. You know, in the conversations you and I've had, that sounds I can see the complete alignment really between the two. So tell me, what with Nature Nurture Nourish, which is your business, what do you actually do with people then? How do people work with you through your business?
So people can join my community. I have a free online community through Facebook, which I'm just updating at the moment. I've also got a paid membership, which gives people access to different activities and also in-person complimentary events and meetups regionally in the UK and further afield. Then I have retreats and expeditions. So I've got ones that for people that have never camped under the stars or had a cup of tea or hot chocolate around a campfire, because that's quite a big thing for people that go out their comfort zone and may never have put a pair of walking boots on or some wellies, that they've been in their heels if they're business women. And then I've got all the other end of the spectrum. I've got luxury retreats that I do. And I'm doing one in Ibiza in the spring that people can come along to. I also do talks up and down the country as well in the UK. And I'm actually going to South Africa next November, and I'm doing a wine and wellness adventure retreat. So anyone that does drink alcohol and drink wine, or will just be interested in learning about that connection in South Africa, we're going to be doing some really cool education around that mindfully, but also going out and climbing Table Mountain and going horse riding on the beach. And doing some cold water swimming.
I mean, it's an excellent location to do that. Yeah. It's a brilliant location to do it in South Africa, isn't it? You know. Yeah. Excellent. So how can people connect with you?
The best way for people to connect with me is on Instagram at Samantha Bye UK, or through Facebook, which is Samantha Kendall Bye.
Brilliant. And I will put all of the connections as well in the notes for the show. Thank you so much for joining us. That's so interesting. And I'm certainly going to go and check out the Netflix documentary. So thank you very much, Samantha. And that was Stories from My Drinking Days with Samantha Bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.